uptick in sales. But that doesn't mean boycotts on the company and the NFL aren't alive and well. In fact, TV ratings continue to falter after the season opener, which hit its lowest rate since 2009. Despite this, the liberal left continues to defend these protests and the blatant disrespect for our flag. The latest example, NAACP President Derrick Johnson. Joining me now from Southern California, managing host and editor at MRC TV, Brittany Hughes. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
So this is actually really interesting here. First of all, people do not like politics in their sports. Let's just go ahead and cover that right now. People do not like politics in their sports. That has been shown poll after poll after poll. A recent CNBC poll showed that 54% of voters disagree that these protests are an appropriate way to raise really any issue, but particularly this one. That didn't stop Derrick Johnson, though, from coming on and telling Yahoo, who of course gave him no pushback whatsoever, telling Yahoo that these protesters are actually kneeling in reverence to the flag. Those are his exact words, that they are kneeling in reverence to the flag. I don't think that that argument could be, even if you agree with these protests, you can't make that argument. He also, of course, suggested, as we've heard time and time again, that anybody who disagrees with these protesters or dares to criticize them is probably a racist. So, of course, I guess that means that 54% of all Americans are racists, which is a line that they like to peddle. It's ridiculous.
Right. It's crazy. Is he completely insane, or is he trying to get his own Nike contract as well?
Well, you know, I am not his psychiatrist, but I would say that his claim is absolutely insane. Look, this is a line. It's a line that they've peddled. And if you look at it, actually, and this is a point that I brought up last week with Graham, relatively few NFL players are doing this anymore. They're not kneeling as much. They're not raising their fists in the air this much. The very, very, very vocal minority are getting all the attention. You have roughly 1,700 players in the NFL. People have made it clear that they don't appreciate this. Can we move on already? It's done.
You know, and the main fact is they're not actually doing anything for Black Americans. Studies show by the FBI that Black Americans have a 500% chance more of being killed from gang violence than being shot by a cop. I mean, this is like handling a broken toe when you just had a heart attack. It's crazy. In other news, we have suppression going on with free speech. The Pennsylvania politician who wants to ban talking political in schools.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of one of those situations where you sort of have to talk about both sides and then talk about why we're even having this discussion in the first place. So what we've got here is Pennsylvania State Representative Will Tallman. He is a Republican, and he has proposed banning all political speech in public schools from kindergarten through grade 12. So we're not talking about public colleges here, but public K through 12 schools, banning political speech. Now, this is obviously in response to this notion, as we've seen, that public schools have become bastions of liberalism that tend to squash conservative talking points and conservative ideas. So I think what you have here is a politician who's making an attempt to say we no longer want our children to be indoctrinated by public schools that are primarily run by left-leaning people. But at the same time, you start to get into an issue where we don't want to go into the opposite extreme where you can no longer have any discussion, because if you think about it, subjects like history and economics and philosophy, these are things that are naturally going to go into politics, and so you don't want to have that either.
And you know, the answer to less free speech or the banning of free speech is more free speech, not less. So as a Republican, I think he should be ashamed of himself. Constitution, you know, decrees that we have the right to free speech. Speaking of censorship, Google is in the news yet again for more censorship. What's going on with them?
So this one is one of the worst that I have heard. Tucker Carlson, actually, over at Fox News, was able to get his hands on some internal emails from Google from a little bit back in the day. Oh, wonderful. And a little bit back in the day. So these emails were from back, do you remember when Trump first got inaugurated and there was that so-called travel ban and everybody was freaking out because they were like, he's banning all Muslims, and he wasn't. And there was a lot of misinformation. So actually, these internal emails show, her name is Mackenzie Thomas. She is a Google product marketing manager, and she was suggesting that Google, which is one of the primary disseminators of information, it's how the vast majority of people get information these days. She was suggesting that they actually tweak their search results and manually changed their search results to promote things that were less biased. And it included
Brittany,
terms like Islam, Muslim.
Well,
she actually also wanted to promote campaigns that were taking donations to resist Trump's travel ban. And so this is just a blatant overreach.
Unbelievable. You know, and if they change things to make them seem more good, they can change things to make them seem more bad. Many conservatives being, you know, shadow banned as well on Twitter and other things owned by Google, Facebook. Thank you so much, Brittany. Coming